Hey, gun people. Yeah, a couple of legal analysis by a couple attorneys. Of course, you watch the media. I think they did a crappy job on explaining this, but I'll try and give you a little bit better intel on kind of what they're not covering. But let's listen to what these brilliant lawyers and news anchor have to say.
Trial raising questions when it comes to home defense. How far is too far? Byron Smith shot and killed two teenagers who broke into his home, and he's now on trial for double murder. Smith says he was just protecting himself, but prosecutors argue he went too far.
65-year-old man shoots two kids coming in his house. His house has been burglarized and broken into 12 times. And he's down in the basement hiding, and they start coming down the stairs, and he shoots them in the head when they come down. And they're charging him with murder, trying to get him life.
And the trial is now in its third day. Two trial attorneys with extensive experience in criminal cases join us, Brian Claypool and David Wool. Thank you.
Freaking left-wing loon liberal, no matching, plaid with freaking paisley, whatever.
You both for joining us today.
Hi there, Elizabeth.
Now, David, I want to start with you because either way you slice it, this is just a really tough case to bear. But the burden of proof for the prosecutors, because they claim that it was premeditated murder and that he was waiting for these teens. So talk to me about the burden of proof that they have here in this case. Can they do it?
Well, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. And look at the circumstances of the case. This man had 12 prior felony break-ins in his home in increasing violence. In this particular instance, these kids smashed his window out and violently entered his home. What does the prosecutor want? For him to wait till the 13th, the 14th, or the 15th? To wait till he's...
Okay, so this guy sounds pretty like he's pro-home defense and he's defending this guy. But I don't necessarily agree with what he's saying, and I'll tell you why in a second.
Stabbed or shot himself? Minnesota law is very clear. It says that a homeowner can respond to a felonious act in his home with deadly force. So if a felony is being committed, like a home invasion or a burglary, he can use deadly force, which is precisely what he did.
Well, not really, but he is right. If you break into a house, you can shoot somebody to defend yourself.
This verdict has no option other than not guilty, and I suspect that's what's going to happen, Elizabeth.
All right, Brian, to David's point, like he said, under Minnesota law, a person may use deadly force to protect his or her home, right. But did Smith go too far here?
Well, absolutely, he went too far. It's called the Castle Doctrine in Minnesota, not the OK Corral Doctrine and not the Wild
freaking left wing wanting everybody to be a victim. You shouldn't defend. I mean, this guy brings up crap like they were kids. How do you know somebody's a kid when they're breaking? What, you got to ask somebody now? Because that's what liberals would want. Liberals would want you to ask them what their intent was. You'd have to believe their response. You would have to engage them in conversation. Meanwhile, while they're cutting your throat and killing and raping your wife and children, liberals would be like, well, at least we were fair to the guy who's breaking it. Man, I'm telling you, man, there has to be, people have to push their legislators to enact law that when you're committing a crime on someone's property, the property owner is scot-free of what happens. He cannot be, and I know it's going to go too far because, oh, what happens if somebody spills something or breaks something, you're going to charge them vandalism and then you can shoot them? No. Within the law, if this guy's breaking in, the law says you can shoot to defend your home, it ought to be, you know what, it doesn't matter how many times you shoot him or how you shoot him, doesn't matter. You are good because they broke into your house, they committed a felony, therefore they're responsible for their own death. That's the only way that you maintain a society to where crooks are scared to do crime. We, the liberal left, keeps pushing this country to where the criminals, the people that do crimes, should have more protections, should be handled with kid gloves. Everyone else should be a good victim, and criminals get to be good criminals on good victims.
West Doctrine. There are two key points to this doctrine, Elizabeth. One is the homeowner has to be in immediate threat of grave harm. There's no evidence.
Okay, so I'm not sure, I didn't read the exact statute. Most places in the Castle Doctrine are defending your home. there's what's called a presumption of fear. Since a more normal, reasonable person do not have people entering their house by kicking in their door, it is normally presumptive that you should be in fear of your life if somebody kicks your door in. So that the states that have that are normally conservative states, because that way you don't have to prove. It doesn't put the burden of proof on the homeowner. When there's a presumptive assumption or presumption of evidence that, hey, it's presumptive if somebody breaks in your house that they're going to do you harm, you don't have to prove that. So therefore, if somebody's breaking your house and do you harm, you can shoot them. So then it makes it much easier to shoot somebody and not end up like this guy going to court, spending your life savings on defense attorneys, sitting time in jail, posting bail, becoming a bad guy because your house was broken into 12 times and now you're the bad guy. That's what happens in liberal Lunu land.
That either of these teenagers were armed. And number two, Mr. Smith has a duty to retreat. He kept shooting the...
Most Castle Doctrine do not have a duty to retreat. I didn't read Minnesota's, so maybe it says it. If there are left-wing idiot legislators, then maybe it does say that. But some states have a duty to retreat. California does. If somebody challenges you to fight in a public area, you have to walk away. If somebody says, let's fight, you have a duty to walk away. So if you fight the person, say, hey, he started it, doesn't matter. You had a duty to retreat. We'll arrest you both. We'll charge you both fines. We'll both give you tickets. You'll both go to court. We'll both make money off both of you and get additional tax. That's liberal logic for government. Most Castle Doctrines do not have that.
These teenagers after the initial shots. And that's what I think the prosecution has. They're probably going to bring in a forensic...
Oh, look how cute they are. They grabbed their little... They didn't show them in their mean, blacked out hoodies with their face covered, carrying a crowbar, busting out his window and climbing through the window. No, they didn't show that. Look at these poor, innocent kids. Oh, they can grow up to be peaceful Muslims because they're just so peaceful.
Pathologists to say that the continued shots, the second, the third, the fourth shot, is what likely killed these two teenagers. And at that point in time, he had a duty to retreat, and it does constitute first-degree premeditated murder.
Okay, so this lawyer, I kind of agree with him a little bit. If you start shooting something 3, 4, 5 times, and it's not immediate, if there's a lag time, if you have time to reload, clear malfunctions, do something that will give a person a reasonable break to go, okay, maybe I'm not in fear. If the person's on the ground rolling around and he's shot, do I need to shoot him multiple times? Now how are they going to know if you shot him at one time or if you waited 5 minutes in between shots? Well, forensically, they can probably tell a little bit. But if you install a security cam in your house that records everything, you pretty much give the government evidence.
Murder. As a matter of fact, this young man, Nick Brady, had broken into his home 2 prior occasions. What is he supposed to do? Wait until the young man takes a handgun out of his back pocket and shoots him?
Now, I agree with that. This dude is a 3-time felon, broke into his house 2 times. On the 3rd time, when he gets killed, the homeowner's going to jail. I mean, our society's just upside down. There's ain't no sense in that.
Look, he has a right to defend his
police
home
officers
under a felonious attack. Well, hold on, Brian, with deadly force. Now, granted, a Mini 14, which is the rifle he used, is a powerful gun, and 1 shot.
A Mini 14 is a powerful gun? It shoots a .223 bullet with maybe a 55 grain bullet. It's the size of a .22. Really? A Mini 14 is a powerful gun? I guess it's powerful if you're shooting freaking spitballs. It's not that damn powerful. It's what our military carries, is a 5.56 .223. They're pretty close, but I'm not sure I'd go powerful. People that know guns, you're getting into the .308, 30 caliber range for powerful guns.
Probably would have done the trick, but he shot 2, 3, 4 times because when you shoot someone who's smashing into your home, and in one case it was the door was kicked down, but in this case the windows were smashed, you don't shoot them to wound them. You shoot to kill because it's your life or it's theirs.
Okay, so I'm not sure where this guy got his law degree, but you don't really want to say that terminology. Although I agree with it, and people confuse a lot of times what I agree with and what the law is. You shoot to protect yourself and to save your life, and because of fear. You don't shoot to kill. If you say you shoot to kill, you're going to get in a jam. In all reality, if you're shooting to save your life, you better kill him, because if you miss and hit the pinky toe, or your bullet doesn't do damage, or he has a vest on, or you nick his earlobe off, and then he kills you, well, then you're a dummy for trying to shoot to wound.
And there is no duty to retreat from a felonious attack or a home invasion into your house that's accomplished by smashing windows.
I would agree with that. I don't think there would be, but I haven't read the law, so I could be wrong.
No way the jury will acquit.
David, it wasn't Osama bin Laden breaking into the home. It was two teenagers.
That's typical liberal logic. You should know who's breaking into your home. It's not the fact that they're committing a felony and breaking in, and you shouldn't have to worry about your intent. You shouldn't have to think about that. Your home is your castle, and it doesn't matter. If you break in, I don't care who you are. You made a felony deadly error, and you will get shot. So I disagree with that. I think the Castle Doctrine should be paramount in all states, but it's not. And you better know your state and either move out or pretend to let people rob you. Like I said, people in UK are always writing me and telling me they can't even use force when somebody breaks in their house. If they try to stop them, they'll get arrested. They just have to let them take everything.
Brian, I want to refocus on one of the points because David had mentioned that he felt like he was in grave harm. But to set the scene for some of our viewers, at one point his gun did jam in between killing the first victim and the second victim, and he paused to actually apologize before taking the life of his second victim. So does that prove at that point that he felt like he was in grave danger? Brian?
It doesn't, Elizabeth, because the standard is an objective standard. It's not a subjective standard. And he even said he's sorry. He even said he's sorry after he killed the girl. And by the way, your viewers need to know, the girl that was killed made a comment to him before he killed her saying she was looking for Brady, the young boy. She was.
Oh, well, shit. I mean, you got people breaking in your home. They're obviously going to be honest. So when they tell you what they're doing, you should just believe them and let them go. Freaking idiot liberal left
looking for him. She wasn't going to say, hey, I'm going to hurt you. There are no verbal threats, no physical confrontation. And Elizabeth, even police officers have a duty before they use deadly force to say, hey, stop or I'm going to shoot.
Wrong again. They do not have a duty to do that. In fact, there's specific case law that says you do not and you should not warn if it endangers innocent bystanders before you shoot. So he doesn't know what he's talking. I don't know where these guys got their law degree. Freaking Walmart School of Homeschool.
I'm here. I'm going to shoot and kill you unless you
David,
stop.
you get the last word. We're running out of time. You get the last word, David.
Yeah, this isn't the same standard of proof. And this young lady came in after a violent entrance by her boyfriend. There was nothing. There is a recording that he apologizes for it. But guess what? He was sorry after this happened. He was sorry these kids lost their lives. But in the end, it is their fault they lost their lives.
Okay, the victim's cousins, 17 and 18 years.
Okay, so this guy sounds like, he's more law and order, but neither one of them give the facts correctly. So this video's a little old. The trial's already happened, and everybody take a guess. Was the guy acquitted or convicted? Well, he was convicted, and he got life. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? They gave this guy life? So then I did a little research and kind of read facts of the case here. Okay, so here's a little more facts that the news media doesn't tell the stupid public, and they wonder why people are misinformed, why nobody listens to the damn news anymore. So Byron, this occurred on Thanksgiving Day. 1716 broke into the home of Byron David Smith, 65, in Little Falls, Minnesota. He was armed with a Ruger Mini 14, shot the teen separately minutes apart as they entered the basement where he was, later stating that he was worried about them being armed. That's a good statement. Had he stopped there and not had to videotape and audio tape in his home, he would have probably been okay. The case sparked Castle Doctrine controversy. So here's a little meat and potatoes. Smith is retired from the U.S. State Department, has a history of international travel to Beijing, Bangkok, Moscow. So he's been around the world. He knows that people are dangerous. I think that would probably help him in his favor. Prior to the incident, Smith's home burglarized at least half a dozen times over a period of few months. According to the items stolen, $1,000 as cash. His father has received POW, World War II, ribbons, Air Force, Vietnam, etc. Okay, so he was a gun guy and he was a military guy, so that makes him a desmicterius. So Minnesota wanted to go after him because he had a gun, and let's go after him. although he made some critical errors and did some things that cost him to get this guilty verdict. There's some evidence that Kiefer committed the last couple of break-ins. So that was one of the kids. He committed 2 of the break-ins. So on 22nd, they broke in. Video surveillance captured the team's case in the property. Minutes later, they entered the basement. And wounded fell down the stairs. After Smith's rifle jammed, he shot her multiple times in the chest with a .22 caliber. Now, this could be saying that he was fear of his life and he didn't know if she had a gun or whatever. Then he dragged her across the floor, set her body beside her husband, and then shot her fatally under the chin. Okay, we got problems here. That's kind of premeditated. That's kind of setting up the scene. That's not shooting in fear. You shot her. She fell down the stairs. You shot her 6 times in the chest. You drag her. You're not too scared to grab her feet and drag her. And then after you drag her, you settle down, you get the gun, and you put 1 bullet under her chin and kill her. That probably what got him convicted. Smith then waited till Friday to have the neighbor call police saying he didn't want to bother law enforcement on Thanksgiving Day. Okay, that's another issue. So now we've got probably a lot of accusations about tampering with evidence, disturbing the crime scene, changing the crime scene, etc. Audio and video of the events were recorded by a system. That probably hurt him. I'm sure he was upset. He's been robbed 12 times. I'm sure he said things like, "You damn punks have robbed me for the last time. You assholes aren't breaking in here again. This is the last time." Those kind of statements on a recording doesn't play well for a jury. Let's see. There was something else that they did. Keefe and Brady burglarized Smith. Statements delivered. Oh, yeah. Smith's statement delivered the killing shots to the head of both victims a short time upstairs after they had fallen to the basement floor. In his statement, don't give a freaking statement, people. In his statement, Smith said he had Kiefer let out a laugh when she fell down the stairs, saying, "If you're trying to shoot somebody and then laugh at you again." The audio tape did not record the laughing. Instead, she cries, "Oh my God," in fear. And when the police interviewed Smith, he acknowledged firing more shots than I needed. And then he acknowledged he fired a good, clean finishing shot. Man, those are some really, really tough statements to overcome in a jury trial. That's why he got charged. When I first read this, and just from the news media, I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. They're going after this guy for defending his house when you don't know all the facts. I don't know if the guy ought to go to prison for the rest of his life, but he kind of messed up. You can go to the Wikipedia page. You can pause this. I'll scroll through it. So if you want to pause it, you can kind of read it here, or you can go to the Wikipedia page. All right. So that's my take on it. You never know until you get all the facts on what the audio recording said, his statements, what he admitted to, and how he worded his statement. I'll say it again. Never talk to the cops. Don't give a statement. Ask for a lawyer and shut up. That's the only way the government ain't going to get you. And even then, they'll try and get you, and they may get you, but it's going to be a lot harder. Why make it easy for them? All right, we'll end that there.